Trubekun Nambatan, Tegana Shin, and Quentecage, and Lamata, Kivishin number, and Tegana Shin, and Gizun, Nasum, Nambatan, and Chishu, Pomo, Teden, number Tangmala, and Toma Ye, and Ning Tabane, and Gagu, Iran, and Patu Mebenga, and Tangmala, some Dresdele, Shugi.
First of all, I would like to, with a very genuine and joyful heart, would like to extend warm greetings, Tashidalex to Venerable Tulkus and learned masters, and as well as distinguished the guests and the Dharma friends gathered from all around the world.
Ane ngale na ane dujite me ngada ane pal kewe mongba kama ba gintile wangi to choge ane jamgun kongro rimjengi ane jede ane gi tuzan zego tela ane ngege ane lama jambe gi ti je ane ma mangzo yong la shena ya wo yong sa res ka na wa nanshin chida ane ngarangi ane nyamyong tho ne re ane tega nanshin ane sheze da kanji chide tho ne ane sheda geba ji shudwe mindu de yinaya ane lama kongma namgi ane tendre la tsaashim bu tsi nangi yoban tar tenge tendre tsunje tsamshido ane chitub kangdubshi ane shuwe bezu chegi.
Last year, along the line of the celebrating the remembrance of the Jamgun Kongtrul lineage, and His Holiness the Gyalwang Karmapa had commanded or asked me to speak on the calling the Lama from afar by Jamgun Kongtrul Lodothai, given my young age, and as well as I don't regard myself being up to the level of being able to teach, nevertheless, in respect of the tradition of celebrating auspicious coincidence, and so in that spirit, as much as I can, or as best as I can, I would like to share the words along this line of the topic.
Chirta ane nganzo ane thekwa chenpo ane chegi chawa khanda shenaya ane thambasumgi ane tsi soyongo bade ane lama kongmanamgi ane nende chenpe nga ane sung yobare.
So, in general, in teaching the Dharma, the importance of so-called the three principles is emphasized by all great masters.
Ta thambasum de ane kare shuba ina ane thoma jowa semji ki thambas pardo ane ngushi mimi ki thamba 아니 주감 타마 ngoye 담바세 아니 담바숨 아니 대도 임바레.
So these three supreme or the three principles being that first principle of the noble aspiration, and the second principle of the focus on the main practice, and the third principle of the principle of dedication.
대나네 아니 당보 통마람 조와 심지기 담바세바디 지다 아니 ngazo leda chawa khale chenaya kulungde 아니 게좀 시라레 아니 kulung라 아니 kulung 상본 망보 여레데 렉나바 담이나소 여레데 이나야 상본 나네 상쇼 초도 교바데 아니 장주기 셈 대더버 임바레.
So now, speaking about generating the proper motivation, and that is the proper aspiration, while in anything and everything we undertake, of course, the motivation has a very important sort of steering role. And now, with regard to Dharma practice, while there are many motivations, many kind of motivations or aspiration that can be regarded as good aspirations, but among them the most supreme and the most profound of all of the motivation is the inclination of the altruistic, encompassing altruistic heart of bodhicitta.
Tataya Gradaya Arahate Samya Sambuddhaya Tatyata Kalbe Kalbe Mai Kalbe Kalbe Pari Shotane Soha Katre Lonse Bere Nambarai Zöche namne shingde lamsoi je reme tembe yönden gyazö dire lödö tayi shadu çöbai mu.
Number 2 남시 사오 도시된 남시 사오든 안에 찹사 쇠지체는 단도될 차로 다마 장주기 셈세데 지다 안에 꿀론 장주기 셈세데 안에 간데를 쉬바이나 안에 마준 남게 타다냠베 안에 셈젠 탐제 코웨 동아 야조 첨볼레 잘데 Nyurdo ane lame ki sala gobar cha dei chedo ane lam samo ane lame naju ki rimbala ane thesam gomsum ane giwo nyambe ane kulung ane deta boje ane kegwade ane gechum cha digdos.
So now when we talk about generating the most supreme and the most profound of all motivation, that is the sort of the two-pronged motivation of bodhicitta. That is considering the all sentient beings, the oceans of sentient beings are afflicted with suffering, and to want to benefit all such beings. And also to bring about the realization of the perfect enlightenment of all sentient beings. So this twofold motivation, and so here in the listening to teaching, whether we are engaging in the learning of the teachings, reflection on the teachings, or actual engagement of the practice of teachings related specifically to that of the calling the Lama from afar, that we are going to do so towards this particular end.
다 대더버 아니 꿀롱기 chanju semde 아니 남바초 아니 단당예 마 아니 라마장부 의시마 아니 드시 잡디 아니 꿀롱 대더버지 케메 권에 아니 세로지 쉬야지다 되네 녜기야 되네 꿀롱 대더버지 아니 케르트베 아니 베제 강 마마 지기 캐난소기야 데 꿀롱 대더버지 아니 나외 아니 베제 나로나 슈기.
So, before going into the main teaching, I'd like to encourage you to cultivate or to invoke this kind of motivation in your mind, and I myself also will generate the same motivation to the best of my ability.
다 담바숨 나네 당보데 안다 시장 다 니바 아니 응시 미미기 담바스 다 대갑소 다 응시 날라마 장베 아니 마셰 치지다 강 지투 강도 슈기 대나라야 아니 녜 아니 라마 장베기 드시디 아니 대세 시고네 아니 슈나 텐조.
So now coming to the second principle of the main focus on the main practice, and so in this I feel that the Lama Gyangbo, calling the Lama from afar, can be outlined in 4 different sort of phases or categories.
다 안에 당보디 안에 라마 장베세 디 첸 코랑기 다시지 안에 슈나 텐중 다 당보 라마 세디 남바 창메기 다 망보 센사 유지레 지다 라 세디 다 투몽기 셰조왕도 제바이나 안에 라 세디 안에 연대 상게의 냠베나 라세 셰바레 마 세디 안에 까딘 상게레 하베나 마세 라마 세디 다 다시 대답이지 아니 임바레.
So, among the 4 points or the 4 stages to this explanations, first one I feel is to explain the name of this particular practice, that is calling the Lama from afar, or Lama Gyangbo. So, to explain the sort of literal meaning, or sort of word meaning of the Lama Gyangbo. And so this way, the word beginning with Lama, which I would understand all of you are familiar with, and nevertheless, that meaning lies being with regard to in terms of the qualities or realization equaling that of the Buddhas, and in terms of the embracing of all beings with unconditional compassion like that of a mother. So in this way, Lama.
다 라마스 장베 세드다 장 세드다 장타 링보 세드 장 세드 말에 대갑게 아니 장 세드다 치다 타 링보 세드 아니 뒤다 아니 네기 토네 아니 장타 라마다 랑니 아니 장타 링보 아니 셰기 조 셰기 매바 임바레 대갑기 아니 장타 세데 장타 링보디 아니 지다 조 아주 셈기 내단기 차네 라마다 랑니 아니 장타 링보 예 아니 출 셰기 여바레.
So the next word in Tibetan, Gyang is afar, like speaking in terms of distance. So normally when we talking about afar or distance, it can be associated with place and time, and that being far away in terms of place or that of in terms of time. But here, I don't think the reference is more along those lines, but more specifically along the line to do with the sort of the distance between one's mind and that of the Lama's mind in connection with that.
다 대인도 아니 셈기 내단기 차네 아니 장타 ringwe 아니 출라야 니여래 니디 아니 가래 아니 슈바이나 내룩다 아니 낭출기 차네 아니 장타 ringwe 아니 출 니여버래.
So, with regard to speaking in terms of distance here, with regard to the mind, that there is maybe two sort of points of consideration. One is from the point of view of the nature, that is from the point of view nature of the mind, and another from the point of view of relative appearance.
내룩기 차네 아니 장타 ringbo 매바인 바래 디 김생 가이 슈바이나 라메 툭다 아니 랑기 셈니 아니 내룩기 차네 아니 랑싱 남다인 발라 아니 상행기 아니 케바 매바래 다 낭술기 차네 다 내룩기 차네 아니 장타 ring보 매바 대인 바래 다 내술기 차네 아니 장타 ring보 간데르세나 내술라 아니 라마콘 아니 상계인 바다 아니 다 꾸체외 연된소 아니 귤라 충자바래 내술라 아니 간조 내술라 아니 연된데서 가야 아니 귤라 게메바 인디 내술기 차네 아니 장다링보 인바 솔디 아니 셰토그레스.
So from the point of view of the essential nature of the mind of the Lama and that of one's own mind, that essentially there is no distance in that the realized nature of the Lama's mind and the potential nature of our mind is from the point of view of inherent goodness or inherent purity is the same. But nevertheless, as far as the relative experience of the mind is concerned, then that is where the difference is. In the case of the Lama's experience of the enlightened outlook, that it is an outlook of omniscience, that is an outlook of that completely endowed with all enlightened qualities. On the other hand, the relative reality, the relative outlook of our mind is on the contrary and full of deficiencies and limitations as such.
대인자다 내룩라 라메 툭다 아니 랑기 셈니 랑신 남다 임발라 아니 상니 케바르 메비 깽기 아니 라메라 아니 진랍 솔데 주바이나 아니 진랍 죽투바레 진랍 죽투 뉴르보 죽투바레스 내출라 아니 라메 툭다 랑기 셈니 찍바이나 아니 진랍 슈고 말에 진랍 나오로 장서 베고 저거만 가르스나 라마다 랑기 셈니 내룩라 찍바이 마세 낭술라야 찍바 차디고 대인비 좀 잘라 때네 베고 소데 소와 데고 말레스.
Now, because of the fact that the essential nature of the Lama's mind and one's own mind is the same, and therefore, when we invoke for the blessings of the Lama, that there is a possibility to be affected by the blessings of the Lama because of the fundamentally equal nature of the mind. Nevertheless, that if in appearance the Lama's mind and our mind, that is in relative outlook, is the same, then if it is the same, there would be no need to supplicate for blessings. There would be no need to supplicate for inspiration, simply because we are having the same reality of the relative outlook.
다 대답은 아니 장다 링웨 아니 출세디 내룩라 지관이마 낭출라 아니 장다 링보 여바 셰베 토네 네 라마 장베 세데 다 장다 링웨 출디 대인바레 다 카시기 아니야 다데 제메 서라지레 이나야 대기 톤에 안에 연대양치 라그래 쟁기도 카셰게 갈라기도 가래 셰기도 sana 딩산 안에 라마 양베스다 라마 양타 링본에 베고에 김세 요마레스 가인세나 데네 카바 타야다 딩산 안에 차게 야보제 남드나 파도 라마 응외수 꾹응외수 제투레스 인지민지 양타 링본에 베고 마레스잉에 가시게 되도 안에 셰기여 살에 다디 응원에 셰디게 안에 다가스다 게몬란디게 텐데민도 이나야 대기 안에 연대 가르던 것도 sana 양다릉보 세디 양다릉보 대마레 지단 양다릉보 텔라 고도에 태 예배 안에 겐지 땡겨 여바레
So, because of the fact that essentially the nature of our mind and that of the Lama's mind are the same, therefore it makes sense to invoke for the blessings. At the same time, there is relative distance in terms of that the outlook. Therefore, also it is important sort of to close this gap that there is need for the invocation of the blessings. And so in this way, it should be understood in the light of this thing about distance or calling from afar is to do with where sort of the mind is at. And these days, probably more along the line of sort of just jokes. Sometimes I've heard sort of words being passed around. These days, actually, it's not necessary to do calling the Lama from afar, sort of from far away. This idea of calling the Lama from afar, because living in the sort of modern age of technology that we live in, you know, we can immediately call the Lama or whoever on the phone, and we can take very fast plane trips, and that in a matter of short time, you would be in the physical presence of the Lama, and so there is actually no need to engage in this ritual of calling the Lama from afar. So if it is meant to be simply a joke, of course, then that's a thing. But if there is some meaning that is attached to it, probably that is not in line with what is being taught.
다데르바 안에 장다르미 출세데 다시 장다 장세데 다시 디바르 다 베세데 데르바 안에 장다르링베 안에 초나 예베 토네 안에 소 솔뎁 가레 베세데 솔뎁데 베바스 다 베세데 다시 데임바르.
So now with the sense of the understanding of sort of distance, the gap that needs to be sort of closed. And so in order to close this gap or this distance, then the next word is to call, sort of to, in a way, express the words of agony. And so what does this calling, the word calling on be means?
지단데 예 가르섬도 세나 아니 먼저 솔뎁 제라 아니 먼저 아니 지단 아니 먼저 유숨 아니 예버도 참고래 정기도 유숨디 가르 슈바이나 더 찍디 아니 장다링웨 아니 출디레 셰과디 계정벌에 술단도니 계정벌에 정기도 디카이 슈바이나 찍디 소소라 아니 둥알당 강알 예베 촌낭지 아니 찍제 아니 니베 토데라 아니 캡 코나 안 라마임비 이제제 데 숨바디 캡 데르 라마 데디 아니 랑니다 장다링웨 초나 데르 아니 숨베 토네 아니 솔데 데나 아니 코 아니 펜바 체와 아니 된다 체와 펜외 체와 요소를 정기도.
So thus in supplicating to the Lama, or this idea of calling and out to the Lama, that in order to do that, I feel that three particular points must be born in one's mind, and that is sort of born or be present in mind. The first one being that there is this sense of distance that in terms of the gap that needs to be closed, and that there is an awareness of suffering, afflictions that one is experiencing, and there is the awareness of the need for protection and the refuge, and that the kind Lama to whom one is supplicating can sort of bring about the resolution to this experience of suffering. So in that way, bearing these points in mind, supplicating or calling forth would produce effectiveness.
Peshana Kandre Shivana Chiba Chunjunjigi and Amala Amase the Gembe Majawe Narulto Ane Same Cancer Chita and Chibadi Semla Sosolo Dungal da Kangali with Sonaje Jab Kona and Maimbe and Ijeje Ane Jab Mate da Rangini Janda Ringbo with Sona Desumbo Gone then Amase the Gembe Chigro then Nashing Azuigia and Sonang Sumbe Tone Lama said the Soldeb Lama Keno said the Berbaina, the Soldeb the Masumbaina, then a parent chair, the Kondushubanaj, parent chair, and then that chair is the Tengidos, the better Janish this and a call Lelha, yes, Shiva.
So, along this line, I think of an example where, for instance, an infant that or baby, when before one sort of calls out to one's mother, calling mother, before that one thing that obvious is that the child is in some state of pain or suffering, and that there is a need for something. And so therefore that the mother, one needs to call one's mother. So in this way, that what we can sort of pick up on it is that there is an experience of suffering, and there is a need for intervention or protection, and that being able to receive the benefit of sort of the immediate presence of the mother, that whatever suffering can be alleviated. So for this reason that one cries out to the mother. So in that same spirit, if one sort of cries out to or call forth the Lama, that the purpose in mind that it could be beneficial.
That Lama Jangbe Sage and the Saint Dashidi and Shusaware. Chita da Lama Jangbe said and the same Korangi and Juji Tenla and Koa Yabuji and Ketuba Ina. Then Lama Jangbe Nyamle Une, da Kone and Shuba Une Shubardo, Juji Ten Chasa and Poto Kentugi about Tinza and Juji and Lama Jangbe Mingla. Send the Lama Jangbe said, send the La and Kohan Nalmachke and Kejumores. So, thus, this brief explanation on the name of the practice, and that is Lama Jangbe. And I feel that the what follows, that is the practice of the Lama Jangbe, is actually built in the name. And so if one pays attention to the name and has grasped the meaning of the name, and then what follows is sort of supported by the very clear understanding of the name of this particular practice. That Lama Jangbe said the shade did away, but then it and anybody to you go the to you go de and the lama jambe ki shung korana da sigwa ina lama keno tinjen zawe lama keno tusum sangye yingo seba ne ma ane tsejik sangye drubar zojik seba pardo ane tugyu kuwa lame tugyu kuwa ane imbares.
So the next point is sort of the second phase is concerning invoking the enlightened mind of the Lama. That is invoking the perfect mind of the Lama. And so beginning from, those of you who have the text, beginning from page 4, where it says Lama Keno, and all the way through to page 30, where it ends with and bring us to complete awakening in this very lifetime. So all of this, from this page 4 to page 30, is in connection with invoking the blessings, and that's invoking the enlightened qualities of the Lama's mind.
Chida ane da chasan ane shudwe ki tuzure dagana shin ngarangi shize tonia shida shud tupsa marete yinaya da denane ane da pedro da chigma shushana dene chasan la dene chigwa lama da ane to yenden da dene ya koban ane kebar yore ma to drodan de ane chigwa res.
So that obviously, firstly, as I was telling you earlier, that while I may not be able to go through any detailed explanations, and of course, you know, I'm constrained, but among this, I will explain one point as an example. The rest of all what follows is essentially the same, except sort of a difference in matter of angle in which the same issue is addressed.
다 직제 탐한데 진진 자외 라마 켄노 지죽 또 지죽 대chen 네네 식시 랑리 추구 랑샤잔 세지 상계 주버 죄제 샤바데 슈베슈바이나 다 진진 자외 라마 켄노스 다 베바 지죽 대제론네 안 시그로나스 sigне ane rangni ane tsejik sangye drubar zero nas deya lama khegya ane dedo ane kuse chigla sangye badi ane gyume kemele maimba gyu ane rangi semgi chunyi ngotrebal tene sangye ba yinza rangni kya ane semgi chunyi ngotrebal tene ane sangye bar zero nas da bugu ane solde didawor 다 차상라 다 라마다 아니야 연대 다 고반 개발을 여러 마도 이나 조당디 아니 직발에스 챙기도
So, for instance, the last verse on page 30, look upon us from the crown of our head, the abode of great bliss. Let us meet the face of the Dharma Kaya, natural awareness, and bring us to complete awakening in this very lifetime. And so, in this way, that the way this is presented is that actually when you write, there is a particular way it flows better in terms of the order, but when you explain, that order can change. And so in this way, one is addressing to the one's kind Lama, and to actually look upon us and from above the crown of then in this way that requesting to merge with the enlightened mind of the Lama or Dharmakaya, natural awareness, and so that in this way that complete awakening could be experienced, and all the others also actually follow along the same spirit.
다데 된데 임바레 다 니바디 숨바디 아니 되된소 깨마 다데신지 링에 디도제 네마 아니 체지 상게드버 아니 징길 롭세 바르도 아니 되된 소아레 대가부고 다 강게 아니 체지 상게드버 징길 라브나세 다 되된 소와 임바레 다 대더부 아니 되된 소와 된야 다 빼더부 빼다 잔이 슈베이나 안에 공도 슈바나시 부조 되게 안에 천왕 숨베 토네 아마세디 아니 겜베 제네 되네 아말라다 갈라다 오마테로 제 샤다 되네야 꺄로 제라다 소 코랑기 되베 되야 소와나시 내가 저기야 안에 천왕 대 숨베 토네 라마라 안에 다 다주냐 거 유라께 워 징길라브나 세다 치와 미다와 저민지 저마 마임바지 줄라게 워 징길라 세바 대나시 안에 되된 소와 임바레
So the third point is concerning the supplicating towards the fulfillment of one's wishes, and that begins from page 31. Alas, beings like ourselves with negative karma and so on, until the end of page 54, and this bless us that we achieve enlightenment in a single lifetime. So this is supplicating towards the fulfillment of requesting for blessings, or supplicating towards the fulfillment of our earnest wishes. And now here, as mentioned earlier, that bearing in mind that one's sort of own situation, in the case of, again, the example of the baby or the infant, and that prior to calling for one's mother, there is a situation of need, of some suffering, whether need for the milk of the mother, whether need for the attention of the mother, and to sort of give one the experience of attention. So that in mind, and sort of in that vein, and now when we are supplicating that we have a definite wishes that we want to fulfilled, be it to have a complete understanding about the precious existence of our precious human existence, or be it in regard to actually have a profound understanding about the reality of impermanence and so on. So in this way, that there being a genuine wish to have these wishes fulfilled, thus making the aspirations.
Tadi ane deden soa imbare tegabgi ane shwechila ane tegabgi da chilab narona taju nyeka wa gyula jewa chingi labrona chilab se da tsik mangbo tengi yoba imbare tegabgi ane da chilab se dila ane ya korti shuna tenson ane chilab se de chida ane chilab la yena ane shi yobare shi di ane kare shuba ina ane rangshin shu ki tuje takpa gyungi tuje 꿀싱 솔베 툴제 툴자 툴라바베 투제 세데다 칠랍 렉 넘버 마드라와 시여바레.
So, thus, each sort of wish or desire, one supplicate for fulfillment of that through the blessings of the Lama. Grant blessing for this and grant blessing for that. So, since here the central piece sort of is being blessing, and so in talking about blessing, in general, I understand there is 4 kinds of blessing. That is the blessing or the sort of the compassion of great natural strength, the blessing of the compassion that is continuous, and the invoked blessings, or and the 4th one is the timely ripening of blessings.
당분이디 아니 랑시슈기 투제다 딱바 윤기 투제 세디 아니 투제단 칠랍 드룹술기 고네 아니 송바임바레 타마니디 아니 꿀싱 소베 투제단 둘제 툴라바베 투제 세디 아니 투제다 칠랍디 로말라 죽술기 고네 아니 송바레.
So the first 2, which is the blessing of the natural strength, so-called, and also the blessing of continuum or continuous blessing, that is from the point of view of how the kind Lama is endowed with these qualities of blessings. And the second 2, which is the blessing of the time of ripening whatever fortunate beings, and invoked blessing, and this is concerning how that the blessing can sort of enter into our being, or how the blessing can actually take into effect within ourselves.
다 당모 안에 랑신 슈기 투제 세디 간데 슈바나 라마 드룹잠네 라메 투제데 칠랍데 아니 예바레 벤나 간데 슈바이나 니마 예잠네 아니 니메 웨셀 예반 딸 라마 드룹자네 라메 투제데 칠랍 예바레 니마 예 웨셀 메바데 아니 중 미시바레 대딸 라마 예 라메 칠랍 윤도 아니 미주바 미시바레스.
So, firstly, concerning about the so-called the natural sort of blessing of natural strength, the compassion or the great compassion of natural strength, this has to be understood. That it does not mean that the Lama only has blessings when one sort of request or invoked for the blessings. The Lama's blessings, they are present, the sort of in the enlightened mind of the Lama, just as that the rays of the sun, the radiance or the brilliance of the sun is present with the sun. It doesn't have, it's not like first the sun and then we have to kind of build in the radiance or the brilliance of the sun into it. So in this way, the blessing of the natural strength.
다랑신 슈기 투제 세야데 니바 안에 딱바 균기 투제 세야데 대더보 안에 라메 투제데 질랍데 안에 참잠메 바라오 안에 마레 안에 라마 예잠네 투제 열에 대 투제 대야 안에 딱바 균기 투제세 추 윤달 안에 마체바 여버레.
So then the the second one is the compassionate blessing of the Lama has the truth of continuous, spontaneously and continuously present, that is uninterruptedly present. It's not that sometimes there's blessing, sometimes there's no blessing, and so therefore not sort of totally reliable, but the blessing of the enlightened mind of the Lama is continuous, and it's a very sort of coarse relative example is as continuous as the flow of the river.
Te da lame ngone thuje da chelap dupzu ko ne an shizawar da sumba ane dulje thila babe thuje se di ngebar do ane da lame thuje de chelap ye yang rangi da kul magoa ane thila babe chena ane makul yang ane chelap ane jubade ane dulje thila babe thuje se ba di imbare the Peshana Pena Kandeta Shubaina and Soma Tewa Tabu and me Gubja Gubjuku Sebe and Sene and Tama Rangigi Amasevala and Jorwe Nekabla and Rangshingi and Sema Tewagi Magulia and Tambasangi Chumne Mus de Pemne and Dua Dujena Kung Duadi. ane duje thula babe thukje se ba ta peshana pesen de dabuche ane imbares thula babe chena makul yang ane thukje de chelap jubadi duje thula babe thukje se
So those two being how the enlightened Lama is endowed with blessings, and now among the next two as to how one the blessing enters one's beings, or one receives the blessings, and there being two. The first one is the blessing that occurs as a result of the time has come for the ripening of beings, whatever beings to be tamed, beings to be benefited. One such example might be that of the story of Angumala, and where he has taken the life of 999 individuals, and the last one sort of left, or whose life to be taken was that of his mother. And at that time, the Buddha appeared to him, and so in this way that this is not because he has invoked the Buddha, in talking about invoking the blessings of the presence of the Buddha, but because of the time of ripening or taming the individuals have come, and so in this way, even without having invoked, the one received the blessings or the presence of the Buddha.
Ta tamadi ane kulshing sowe thukje se de imbare de namjun da lama jangbe sungdu ane ngazo tegara lama la ane chilam naro na se kulma shya da solde choya de ane tegara re kulshing sowe thukje se de ane tere nambe sangme ane cancer.
So the key point here, actually, in the Lama Gyangbo, calling the Lama from afar, is the fourth point, the blessings received through invocation, through supplication, and so whatever are different prayers of supplication we do to invoke the blessings of the Lama, and which becomes the vehicle for receiving the blessings of the Lama. So the blessings of invocation.
Da de inza da chilab se da kor da namsha do ane shu chawa yin ane de ga da so ji ane sha la ane kadam be lama nam ji khar sung sana ane chilab gi lam ane sol de bi yin 송바레 아니 진랍 아니 죽버제베 람디 아니 솔뎁 임바레 대인자 아니 솔뎁 아니 제베 값수 아니 다이 공도 슈바나시 아니 툭삼 셰네 난고야디 아니 게좀 시라차데고레 마세 아니 진랍기 람 솔뎁 진랍기 짜와 무규 무규기 갈보 라마 상게스 통화인시 아니 송바따르 아니 진랍기 람 아니 솔뎁 데 아니 진랍기 람도 아니 규르마규르데 아니 무규를 라레기 여바레 무규 망보 여레데 이나야 무규 나 상셰디 무규 갈보데 무규 갈보 라마 상게스 통화인시 수바나 타부 아니 라니기 짜웨 라마데 아니 상게등오 예르메도 아니 임버 셰베 다가스 몽데기 짬마임버 줌제 양다바도 셰베 토네 아니 솔뎁 균도 아니 굴신 소베 솔뎁 세바타르 솔뎁 균도 아니 제고야데 아니 게좀시라 차디도스.
So this is briefly concerning the different aspects of blessings or how one might be able to accomplish such. So one important point along this line is one thing is should be obvious is that when we do the devotional supplications that it has to be with the utmost sincerity and genuineness, and as the great Kadampa masters have said, that the supplication is the path to blessings, and the devotion is the root of blessings. So in this way, that when we supplicate, we must do it with all sort of the sincerity and genuineness, so that it serves as a path to the blessings, and sort of going through the path of the blessings, but the actual cause of the blessing being that of devotion, the sort of the root of the blessings is devotion, and so therefore we need to cultivate or give rise to genuine devotion. And within devotion also there are many sort of aspects or degrees of devotion. And it is said that among devotion, the most sort of supreme of all devotion is to have the pure outlook, or to see the Lama as the Buddha, and unquestionably. So in this way that we are to be encouraged that we give rise to this kind of devotion and genuine supplication, and recognizing that the root of the receiving the blessings is that of devotion.
다 안에 응시 안에 되제 시 나네 안 되제 숨바데 다 쉬사바 레 안다 되제 안에 타마데 안에 투이 찍도 세바 세바디레 데 안에 타마 안에 체가 안에 시디 소와드스 라마rum부지 동에버도 진지 최기지 까메 달러에서 켈레미 투이 예메 드버 징겔로 세야디다 직제 안에 시디게 안에 땡겨요 버래.
So that's a brief explanation on the third point of view of the supplicating towards the fulfillment of one's wishes. And the fourth, sort of the last point, is concerning how to mix or blend one's mind with that of the Lama. And so that the last verse of the Lama Gyangpo on page 54, and the words translation here reads: "We supplicate you, precious Lama, kind one, Lord of Dharma. We call out to you with longing. For us unworthy ones, you are the only hope. Bless us that our minds blend with yours."
다데 아니 데셰 마 쉬바이나 지다 아니 마좀마 티디 아니 코랑기 다 제 대와 따거 마도 아니 된다 고 라와 따거 말에 단다 마게 마시디 아니 된다 아니 고 라웨 체도 아니 체카시 야마 두긴 데 간데레 쉬바이나 아니 틴진 최기제 라마rumbuches 동웨 베데 소와 답기인스 아니 투 소와 뎀네 가 투이 에메 데버 칭게 라브로나스 줌제 아니 칼메 달라 레사 켈레메스 아니 칼바 멤버 다 tomba 상게 줌는데 아니 응스 슈연장 샬 제메토바 아니 숭 퇴 메바 이나야 아니 두숨 상게 탐지게 아니 찍도 되베랑소 아니 라마 임베 친나 아니 카바 멤버 달라 레사다 떼사 라마 켈레메베 줌젤라 테네 아니 라메 툭다 랑기 셈니 예메 드버 칭게 라브로나 세다 치가 타마시 디셰 데다부 임바레 다 라마 장벤나네 망보 요레디 이나야 다 개치쉐디 아니 치가 타마시디 임바레 안 단다 곤도시버 데와 데셰 학점 아니 쉐바디 아니 남주 아니 냠레 나운디 아니 고아 야보지게베 토네 아니 나로나 슈기
The last verse in connection with blending or mixing one's mind with that of Lama's mind, as said also earlier, that sometimes it's in writing, it's better to be written in a particular way, and then explaining the orders can be changed. So here, actually, in terms of pointing out the meaning, it might be best to say that the kind Lama and Lord of Dharma, and so we call out to you with the longing, and we we supplicate you, precious Lama, and bless us that our minds blend with yours, because for us unworthy ones, you are the only hope. And so in this way, that even though Buddhas have appeared in the world, even though the Buddhas have taught the Dharma, but for us sort of unfortunate or unworthy beings, we have not personally encountered the Buddha, and we have not personally heard the Buddha teach. So our only hope, the one we completely rely upon, is you, and so therefore that we supplicate you, precious Lama. And so this is the essential point of the Lama Gyangbu, the calling the Lama from afar. And so in this way, that I also encourage that you to do the Lama Gyangbu in this way, as best and as genuinely as you can.
Sirdan ane lama jangbe re tagana shi chöge ane chawa khandes chena ya ane khazam ane tsikzam mayimbar ane ningkong riveting ne ane tön yila samne ane tsik ma khande de chedi ane kejom shira chagido kaza ane konso choge ane mangbo songso nge shira shugo mare de yinaya ane penna ane nganzo de danda tape recorder de ane nganzo michi gi da ma ke de record che tangshana korangi ane tsik shazan she digre yinaya ko te yela samgyo mare nganzo ya te yela masam tsik chikbo phejo tang de na ane nganzo tanda de tape do ane ke ninse me ba tang na ya ane ko chilab jugun mare khan juan ke dugu mare tena chikbare te inza ane leda chawa kharechena ya nyamle kharechena ya tön yila samne ane tsik khandyen du chedi ane chida ke chumbare tengidu
So I'd like to also share with you as I think of it, and it's very important that when we engage in any activities that we just don't do it in casually and just in terms of words, and not just leaving it to the level of sort of lip service and without genuine and heartfelt involvement, so would not serve any purpose. Then when it comes to practice of the Dharma, and particularly doing some things like that of the supplicating the Lama, then the key factor is that it just simply is not left to mere gestures and sort of mere parroting of the words, that it has to be, one has to first understand, comprehend the meaning, and then have to allow the meaning to sink in one's mind, and then with heartfelt, from the depth of one's heart, that one has to make supplications. Of course, I certainly don't need to say much along this line, because His Holiness has said enough in most very profound ways. But just let me say, even just as an example, because if it was sufficient only to have the words repeat or the repeated, then we can obviously have the tape recorder sort of rolling or playing, and whatever sort of taped message playing all over again and again. Of course, it's not getting tired and it can continuously go on, but I doubt that it will actually affect giving rise to genuine devotions of the genuine intended wish or feeling. So in this way, it must be encouraged, must be reminded that we don't leave it to sort of mere external gestures and parroting or lip service, just like a recorded information being played again and again, that it must be from sort of the depth of our heart that we do so in order to bear effect.
Da ngwejide ane shuchawa yin ane dai kongdu shuba nashin ane number 2 nyamle nange cho ina ane dedabu ane tukong shene naro na shue yin chidan da ngara ane mangzo dedabu ane mangbo nangla ane she ane tema tangbo yin de nangla ane nowa da chuwa la soba ane chungwa ina ane gongda shue.
So I would like to encourage you to bear this essence of these words in your mind. And also, I must admit that this is my first time addressing such a large gathering. And so if there has been any sort of mistakes, any limitations, I ask for your pardon.
Da tambasum yebnane da tambasum yebnane ane thoma jowasimji ki tamba da pardu ngushi mimi ki tamba se dingi di shuchawa yin da tamar ane ngoye tamba se di re da chida ane le da chue chawa khande shena ya ane juk ngowe ane cham jagwa di ane ge chomba shira chagu yore ka shuba ina ane dedobu ane gewe chawa jebe ane sonam ki so sa yoba di ane tenden re dedobu sonam ki so de ane chuso su madrowa ane majun namji tada nyebe simje tamje negab ki dunga do tardu ki dunga le ane tarwar sho so ngowa malam kyeshana ane ngowa di ane soso ki kaan gewe zawa sa shaba di ane chuso su dogu meba imbare ten za ane ngowe sam jar gwa de ane chida ane ke chombo shira chagyo bare.
So as I mentioned at the beginning, that in engaging in any Dharma activities or Dharma practice, that one must take into account so-called the three principles, and that is the principle of the aspiration or the motivation, and the principle of the focus on the main practice, and then the final, that of dedication. So, in general, whatever virtue one has accumulated or virtuous activity that one has engaged in, it's essential one makes dedication. In particular, that of when it involves the activity of hearing and contemplating and integrating or practicing the Dharma. And it is of utmost importance that one makes a genuine dedication, because one thing is that there is, of course, substantial merit or virtue to be dedicated, but if one hasn't gone into the actual attitude and the mindfulness of the dedication, and then it's like sort of a wasted accumulation of merit. So in this way, dedication is of tremendous importance.
The jida ane ne za chimbo ane doji de tela ane khor mangbo chigla ane nge lama jambo sheto bade ane ngara kaba sambo shira chungson ane mixal ge ane shwala den thanda de schedule ane ngurup sering khon ane jamgun ku khomare taga na shi ane kama ba ane kudin chutu ba ribi doje la ane sungyur ane na ye bare ane thare te do ngala ane kijur ane cheto ba de ane ngarang gya ane kaba sangwa shira yagu shira chungsos ane ngurup sering la tuche shwen yin. I think it'll be a bit difficult to say this by Ngurup Tsering, because I'll say it to you in English, because Ngurup Tsering had translated for previous Jamgur Rinpoche and also has translated for 16 Kamapa. So I'm telling him, thank you very much for translating for me. So it will be great for all of you to applaud for him. Thank you. Dene khashegi dene lama jangbegi ane lungchi ane dero che song song ane khashela ya long towi khashela ane long towi ji mare dene nge tende chunje juda ane ma lungchi dengi.
So His Eminence said that I feel very fortunate that in this very sacred place of Bodh Gaya, Dorje Den, where the Buddhas have become enlightened, and in such large gathering, I have this great privilege and opportunity to share some words on the Lama Gyangbu and calling the Lama from afar. And before we go further, I understand a number of people here have requested for the reading transmission, the Long of Lama Gyangbu. Most of you might have received it. Nevertheless, in connection with this auspicious circumstance, I will do the reading or the Long of Lama Gyangbu.
Lama Gyangbu ge sudi mi gu ni ge she je jawa chu na mo goro be lama Gyangbu ko la ta ja la ko ne ju jing ge je ko mo ka za na mai ba yin ge be ne ya lama la ba sang ge je na ba tha ju be ge je de me yan lama ju ne de je lama ju ne de zo ne ngo lo de je ge je na pa zu ge de nga da za lama je ju ne je na to je de je ngo ro na mi ge je ne de je de ko de za lama je na lama ba ma ba je na to ju ko lo ne de zo ne ko je ne de je de be je ne de lama je ne zo o zo lo ngo lo ne je de do nga ne je kham so ko de ne zo lama be ma ju ne ge no nga be ma ne je ne de je ne mo mo de zo ne wo ni de zo lama ye je zo je na kha je de je lo ne je de da ba se je be ta be dong ge je ma 까디 기벨 라마지노 소제 jelone snya da jitbe menga zana to be nyima chawa de kunje tme se kenal honje ngal ngai ka ta ko me zanje zana jitro chmo je nyame chawa yese kenal ka ta la gelone snya to nying bunye ngi chasu jila jo tuje mame to zojino de jito ines de de chung chung de chogu nyima sa waje de jita waje ko ma jino ka to ines de chogu de me jima da na su kusa chawa je ka ji ji kin yin na da be chine de ne ga je to ba zana nyi de de jisu ko man ma gena ko de melone snya na ga to no jito de sa me no jito ba zanya nyame shama ka ji jina na sange chine de thalo nyino su ji ne melo zanya nyama jito de jito de jima de no to me de jilo ne snya de me de be to jina na sana won fa ji da ma zanya jina la ra to be ines me gibe jila nyila zune tene me chawa지는 맞을라 기도 맞는 시라바질 어느 선제 다 진님 지테네 시제 담에 두던 것도 군제도 버선이 지나 남고 주된 인내서 포유는 운하선에 포도도 죽고도 제준다라는 다기는 나서 보니 인내서 저절한 예매는 잘 가지고 버도 제 계속 뭐 먹는 키니 이제는 내비실에 뭐서나 지나 나와지면 어서 좀 배제나 저서 텔로생게 도마데는 저는 뭐 chawa지 병가 동거 넘어지는 대전도 예매서 계속 고마다 다기 예송도 지나 거의 계속 저는 인수를 언제서 내비도 도마도는 간절로 좀 계절로도 되는 저는 이제 간지스는 도그도 저 범한지는 시민이나 서마제 병마게 뭐지기는 저서 인내서 동아이 좀 알아서는 반드시 도와주는 인도 버전을 수준은 인생 먹는 뭐 또데 되냐면 좀 어디 저저 라마지는 지도를 해서 라이저랑 세상에 도와주지 깨마들었으면 링고도 도면은 거기는 당을 동당은 요즘 계시게 자마지 라마지는 돈 인생에 지더니 저와진 열로 도저 돈이 메지 되면서 저와도 내도 저다 버려 벌는 노블은 나도 라마지는 도저 일로 좀 일로 좀 버진 열로 맞아서 돌려 버진 메타도 니도 저도 바로 라인 원진도 지금 유를 들어 좀 이러 라마지는 저도 멜로나 도와지도 니도 베서 저도 선에서 맨도 제벨 주시도 ben에서 남시도 버려 또 라마지는 도저 니도 제 그메 또 버진 열로 좀 만만 거슬에 도마도 메데 미주신 보내 소원이래야 저는 라마지는 도저 니도 생겨서 알레 또 버진 열로 들어 자 군도 베신도 자 마도 민도 저 마마도 좀 메도 저 라마지도 도저 니도 저런데 가지 시워진 열로 된 버도 조금 좀 더 섬도 좀 배우지 저도 좀 이게 랭웨다 타벨로도 좀 마지 라마지는 도저 니도 생각 같이 세네 저 버진 열로 된 버도 가데미가 게 챙겨서 소배 고쳐진 너 동안 이제 세메 유지 주도서는 라마지는 도저 니도 좀 저도 버진 열로 코아니 뭐 멜라지 뭐 저도 고치는 너 고고 자 고고 진 미게 좀 라마지는 도저 니도 세로 이 동아진 열로 수 동가 좀 밑에 뱅이를 돌아든 기를 명고서도 제 디자와미를 되면 열랑 라마지는 도저 니도 렐라 이지 게 버진 열로 달라 좀 진열라 천세게 런던 넬라도 뭐 취지주도 좀 있는 좀 뭐잖아 라마지는 녀모도 좀 맞은 열로 전에는 야는 집에서 너너도 저도 말에 들으시는 녀모 그네 징거도 저나 많이 라마지는 라니라니 더 버진 라니 녀모라니 뭐 집에서 좀 녀모 미겔 라마제 잠 그 라마지는 도저 니도 rangi tongwa jinjila shirasu chila baba di yire jana jana lama de me goren lama jala jado jana lama jana to jinjida me goren jada wajin kendo sunje sege tena ya mugun ni tene ma ge sesa waji choje gena jala jana lama jana to jinjida jeje choje to wajin jala to mo dong to jembe sange sange to ma de sunje ge jana de ponje jembe da jishna kona lama jana to jinjida da je wani me to sang ona lama ro ma je sunje ran de ma je jana ije gom je nam la de so lama jana to jinjida se me ge me wajin jala ran sen je ngo ba nam to chugun ge de ma de ma jin yuma je man rang ban ne lu ge yima lama jana to jinjida se ran ra sa to wajin jala yong ge chawani de ma de penge don je 땡겔란다 나도 소제메 결론은 전세 마데 예메 라마키노도 인도 예메 좀 맞아 jingle 원래 예메 예메 던전 같이 던전 동화 저러 정해 남게 되면 되메레메 교조 예메 라마데노 또 인도 철라니로 좀 jingle 통보섬 철라메 발라 타마드로 코에니 저 타벨로도 미게세메 때문에 베기문 라마키노도 담지 타르 좀 jingle 저제네네 저 jingle 멜로나도 jingle 처원이네 좀 jingle 레라 이지게 jingle 람라 바지메 jingle 둘로 쯤는데 jingle 깽겔람도 로 녀보라 저 jingle 좀메 그 jingle 로 세라리 중국이랑 이유에서 jingle 투나지도 체제 상지도 jingle 소와도 라마로 jingle 되면 까메달라에서 geleme toyeme to bachinjelo tsurdeme jongje kaje ngo ko rumlu su jumani jere jero to sondo to de wara je songe ne ko ni de lame songe zimbalo tai yi tongshi de shi de be dune je ba gele be shu mam zayen tos ta 대가랑 레 안에 상말라 안에 투셰다 안에 양자 안트스텔레 슈기 라스 대가랑
And I also like to thank you all for all of you being here, as well as express auspicious greetings or Tashit Delik to you once more.